on this. This is the Maya interface right here. It's very heavy. There's a lot of windows, and especially if you go into like this, look at all this stuff. When I see students approach Maya and they see this, it's just a lot. Especially, I could open the outliner here. Let's open up the tool settings, which sometimes I'll have open as well. Let's dock that right there. Oh, there we go. For some reason, my tablet doesn't let me dock it there. There we go. Doesn't this program look super user-friendly? Not really. There's so much stuff. Now, do you need all of this stuff? No. Honestly, as a man and as an animator, we don't need most of this stuff. As an animator, my job is to select the controls on a rig, hit a hotkey to set a key. In Maya's case, it's hit S to set a key, and then pose them out. All of which I can do by just selecting a control here, hit S on my keyboard, and then hit the shortcuts W, E, and R to activate my move, rotate, and scale tool. And honestly, you almost never use scale when you're animating, so it's W and E. And then from there, I can rotate and pose the character out. And once I have the pose out, I go forward to the next frame, set a key, repeat the process. That is the extent of animation. Everything else is just extra. If you can set a key, manipulate your character and rotate around your scene with your camera, and change the timeline, you're good. So, do we need to see all this extra stuff? No. So, what you can do is hide a lot of the stuff. I don't recommend this when you're first starting to learn Maya, because you want to learn the interface where things are. But once you understand the basics of Maya, you don't need to see everything. So, what can we do? Well, for one, let's start with something simple. Display layers over on the right here. This helps us to hide certain elements in a scene. So you can hide geometry and stuff. Honestly, unless I'm working with a very heavy set, I don't really use display layers. That's just me. So if I drag this down here, and you can see if I drag it low enough, boop, it just disappears. So, toot, there you go. It's gone. I can always drag it back, but it's simplified. Okay, what else don't we need? Well, let's go to Windows, or actually, sorry, Display. No, wait, I'm right. Windows. And then UI Elements. I second guessed myself. So go to Windows, UI Elements. And here we can hide different parts of the window. So, status line. This is this line right up here. It's the save button. It's like the picker buttons here, render buttons. Do you need to see this? Not really. Now, the only really important thing here as an animator is this menu icon right here. This allows you to switch the top menu to the animation menu or whatever else you need. That's the one useful tool here. But honestly, you don't actually need that. And I'm going to show you why in just a second. So I'm going to turn off the status line. The shelf. This is all of your quick buttons to activate things. Very useful, but honestly, I have my custom shelf here to activate certain plugins. Other than that, I don't really use the shelf that much. That's just me. So for me, I can turn that off. Time slider. Yeah, we'll need that. That's our ability to scrub through our scene. We'll kind of need that. Range slider. That allows us to change how much of the scene we're seeing. Also very useful. Command line. This shows us a place to put scripts in. We don't need to see that unless you're using a very heavy script scene. If you're just starting out, don't need to see it. Helpline. Technically, you don't need to see it, but it is nice if ever you want to learn how to use a tool. You can see like a little, here's how you use a tool thing right at the very bottom of Maya. If you're just moving things and setting keys, don't need that. Toolbox. That's this box right here on the left, which is your rotate, scale, select tools. I use the hotkeys, so don't need that. Already the Maya interface is much simpler. Also, I've got Animbot, so let me actually... I'm going to turn off Animbot here just to show if you don't have the tool. Let's see, Animbot. I always forget what it's named here. Actually, I think I can just click here and let's unload it. So let it refresh here. So this is our Maya interface now. Much simpler. Now, I mentioned switching the menus up here. What if I need to go into my modeling menu and get some modeling tools for something? Well, in Maya, if you just hold down the spacebar, you get this. It's called the hotbox. The hotbox allows you to access every single menu in Maya right here. So for example, if you look up here, we have File, Edit, Create. Hold space, right here, File, Edit, Create. That menu section there is the same as here. We have View, Shading, Lighting. That's the menu right here. View, Shading, Lighting, Show, Render. View, Shading, Lighting, Show, Render. Right here, we have Key, Playback, Audio, Visualize. That's right here. That's the animation menu set. All of these menus down here, Mesh, Edit, Mesh Tools, that's the modeling menu set. Skeleton, Skin, that's the rigging menu set. Animation, FX, Rendering. Right there. I can get to every menu in Maya right from here without having to dig up through the interface there. So that means I don't need that animation menu drop down, but I also don't really need these buttons either. You can hide these with a shortcut. The shortcut is Control M, Shift M, and Control Shift M. So Control M hides the very top bar. Once again, we can get that right here. Shift M hides the top bar in your viewports. Once again, we can get through those right here. Now, all of these tools here, these are very useful. You can turn on ambient occlusion on and off right there. You can lock your cameras, all of this stuff. I personally like to see these visible right here. But you can also get to all of these options by going right here into these menus, if you want to do it that way. So Control Shift M will hide that. There you go. So this is my Maya interface now. There you go. Let's see, but hiding the shelf, I can't use quick select, or is there any other way? You can create a hotkey. If you're doing a quick select very often, you could set a hotkey, or you could just show the shelf. So if I want to show the shelf here, I'm going to open my hotbox, and you have zones in the hotbox. You have north, south, east, and west. East and west. Get my directions right. If you go to the right side here and just click this, so click and hold, I can activate different UI elements right here. So I can turn my shelf back on, and I could just have that. Like, honestly, that's not bad. That's not messy, especially if I make my own custom shelf right here, and I just have the tools that I want. Still nice and simple. So now I look at Maya, and I just see what I need. Even on the right side here, the modeling toolkit. Do I need the modeling toolkit? No, let's drag that out and close it. Do I need my tool settings right here? Yes, I like that. I like tool settings. Outliner, I like to have my outliner visible personally. So I usually have tool settings, outliner, channel box, attribute editor here. There you go. So this looks cleaner, doesn't it? Now, as I'm animating, I'm not worrying about all this extra stuff. I'm literally just selecting my controls and then setting a key, posing my character, moving my timeline, moving on. That's it. When you're starting, that's literally all you need. You don't need anything else. And honestly, most of the time, even nowadays that I'm animating, I very rarely use anything else. I might use the grease pencil or some other tool, but this is the majority of what I do. This is Maya to me. Not all of those menus, not all of those hidden features. This. Just this. So for me, I actually save a copy of this. So let's actually bring back the top menu. So that's Control M. If you go to Windows, once you set all of this up, you can go to Windows, Workspace, and save your current workspace. Now, whenever you open up Maya, you can reset it so that you bring everything back. But if you're ready to animate and not get bogged down by all of these things, save it. And I actually have one here. Or actually I did before I reset my preferences. So I should actually save this one. You save that, and I can just call this like bow space. We'll call it that. Okay. Now, workspaces, I have my bow space right there. Now, when I'm using my computer and I want just to animate without looking at anything complex, oop, right there. Now, actually, I also, if you go to your shelf, you'll notice that there's a lot of tabs here. A lot of tabs. I never use any of the other tabs. Honestly, I set up my own custom tab with the tools that I use, and that's it. If you click on this gear icon, you can turn off shelf tabs. There we go. Even better. Now I've got my shelf with only the things I need, and I don't need to look at every other tab that has tools that I'll never use. Voila. And then, oh yeah, graph editor down here. So I have the graph editor open, ready to go, docked down here when I'm ready to use it. So this way you can have your animation curves right there, and you can see everything. Actually, I'm just gonna, can I show? Yeah. So there we go. Hopefully that makes sense. And for anyone who's like interested in learning this, this is a good way to not get overwhelmed, because it's very easy to open up Maya, and let's just switch back to classic view. Look at all this stuff that we're looking at right here. It's a lot, especially when you've got all of these menus and all these buttons. What do they do? I don't want to hit the wrong one. It feels like you have so much that you have to learn. When in all honesty, you don't have to learn most of it. As long as you know how to set a key, move a character, you're good. How can you create the 3-camera view? So to create the 3-camera view, you just go to Panels, Layout, and you can choose your layout right here. So if you hide everything, so let's switch back to my workspace here, bow space, and then hide all my menus like so, hide the shelf tabs like this. Wait, I need three menus. Hold down spacebar, Panels, Layout, 3-panel, let's go split top. There we go. Now I want this bottom one to maybe be the dope sheet. So I have my graph editor here, but I want this one to be the dope sheet. Hold down spacebar, Panels, go to Panel, and find my dope sheet. There we go. Or maybe I want it to be the node editor. Maybe I'm going to be editing some nodes here. Panel, node editor. So right here. There we go. Done. Voila. So when I'm animating, when I'm viewing Maya and I'm like teaching Maya, or sorry, not teaching Maya specifically, teaching animation, in my mind, this is what I'm looking at. This is the amount of information I need. It's not much really. There's not much going on in there. It's really just simplifying it so that I don't have to get caught up in all of these unnecessary details. Yeah. Hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully that answers your question there.